Ladies and gentlemen, let me speak plainly, being a nice guy is not a virtue. It is a silent betrayal of your own power. I am not speaking of kindness, integrity, or character. I am speaking of that watered-down version of manhood that bows to comfort, avoids conflict, and sacrifices ambition for approval. The nice guy persona is not a reflection of one's true character. It is a mask, a survival mechanism crafted over time to gain acceptance, avoid conflict, and remain safe in a world that rewards obedience more than authenticity. This mask is worn not out of virtue, but out of fear. Fear of not being liked, fear of being seen, fear of standing up and standing out. The nice guy doesn't walk his own path. He tiptoes through the expectations of others, hoping that by pleasing everyone, he will finally earn love, recognition, and security. But that hope is a lie. At the core of the nice guy syndrome lies a belief that self worth something to be earned from the outside in. He believes that if he's just agreeable enough, if he suppresses his own needs long enough, if he avoids confrontation and always says the right thing, people will reward him with validation. He is willing to sacrifice authenticity for peace, his opinion for approval, his passion for politeness. And over time, he forgets who he really is beneath the mask. He confuses his act with his identity. This persona may look harmless, even virtuous on the surface, but it is profoundly dangerous. It is the slow poison that drains a man of his power. It keeps him from taking risks, from stating the truth, from pursuing what sets his soul on fire. Every time he hides what he really thinks or feels, he loses a piece of himself. He trades courage for compliance. He gives up boldness in exchange for being tolerated. And the tragedy, people may like him, but they rarely respect him. This mask isn't just worn in public. It shows up in relationships, careers, and life decisions. The nice guy constantly bends to the will of others. He says yes when he wants to say no. He avoids conflict not because he believes in peace, but because he is terrified of disapproval. He says what people want to hear, not what they need to hear. He lets others lead, not because he lacks ideas, but because he lacks permission from himself. He believes that being nice makes him good, but in reality, it often makes him invisible. This false self is built from years of conditioning. Perhaps it started in childhood, where he learned that being quiet, agreeable, and undemanding earned praise. Or maybe he witnessed strong voices being punished, bold dreams being mocked, or assertive people being labeled as selfish. So he decided early on that safety was found in silence, that harmony came from hiding, that being small was the price of being accepted. But what he does not realize is that this masked strategy for survival is now his cage. The same behavior that once protected him now limits him. It robs him of passion, intimacy, impact. He cannot lead because he will not risk being disliked. He cannot love fully because he does not express fully. He cannot grow because he is too afraid to fail. And so he stays stuck, likable, agreeable, and deeply unfulfilled. Breaking free from the nice guy persona does not mean becoming rude or cruel. It means becoming real. It means choosing truth over comfort. It means reclaiming the right to speak boldly, act decisively, and live unapologetically. It means remembering that your worth is not a vote cast by others. It is something you claim by showing up as your whole self. No more hiding, no more pleasing, no more masks. Because behind every nice guy is a powerful man waiting to be unleashed. Kindness and niceness are often confused, but they are not the same. In fact, they are worlds apart. Kindness is rooted in strength, in clarity of values, and in the courage to act in alignment with those values, even when it's difficult. Niceness, on the other hand, is rooted in fear, a desire to avoid conflict, to gain approval, to be seen as pleasant at all costs. Kindness is self-assured. Niceness is self-abandoning. The kind person does not need others to approve of them in order to do what is right. Their sense of goodness comes from within, from a firm moral compass, not from how they are perceived. A kind person can say no without guilt. A kind person can deliver the hard truth, not to hurt, but to help. A kind person draws boundaries, not because they are unfeeling, but because they value themselves and others enough to be honest. Kindness is not passive. It is active. It is often uncomfortable. It is a conscious choice to uphold what is true and good, even when it requires confrontation. Niceness, however, is built on a false foundation. The nice guy smiles even when he's angry. He agrees when he disagrees. He says yes when everything in him screams no. He avoids tension, not because it's the wise thing to do, but because he cannot bear the possibility of being disliked. He confuses people pleasing with virtue, but it's not virtue. It's avoidance. It's manipulation in a softer disguise. He gives not freely, but conditionally, hoping that by giving enough of himself away, others will finally see his worth. Where kindness is whole and integrated, niceness is fragmented and anxious. The kind man can walk away from disrespect because he knows what he stands for. The nice guy stays, tolerates, and internalizes the disrespect. He believes it's his role to absorb discomfort so others don't have to. He becomes a sponge for everyone's needs, everyone's emotions, except his own. He believes being selfless means being empty of self. But that's not kindness. That's self-erasure. True kindness has backbone. It does not shy away from accountability. It calls people higher. A kind leader will tell you when you're out of line. A kind friend will tell you when you're hurting yourself. A kind partner will speak the truth, even when it risks tension, because they value connection over comfort. Niceness avoids all of this. Niceness says, let's keep the peace, even if it means living a lie. But peace built on lies is not peace. It's quiet misery. The tragedy is that many men wear the nice guy costume thinking it makes them good. They fear that if they assert themselves, they will be seen as selfish or unkind. But in trying to avoid selfishness, they swing too far into self-sacrifice. They give up their voice. They betray their truth. They allow others to walk over their boundaries in the name of being good. But goodness that costs your soul is not goodness at all. It's submission. To move from niceness is to kindness is to reclaim your power. It means being willing to be misunderstood. It means letting go of the need to be liked in order to live a life that is aligned, meaningful, and real. It means being firm without being cruel, direct without being harsh, generous without being exploited. Kindness is not the absence of conflict. It is the wisdom to know which battles are worth fighting and the strength to show up for them with integrity. So if you've been taught that being nice is the highest form of character, it's time to unlearn that lie. Aspire not to be liked, but to be respected. Aspire not to be pleasant, but to be principled. Aspire not to please everyone, but to live truthfully. The world does not need more nice guys. It needs more strong, kind, honest men. Men who speak with purpose, act courage, and love with integrity. That is real kindness. That is real strength. Approval is one of the most seductive drugs a man can chase, and also one of the most destructive. It feels good to be praised, admired, liked. It gives a temporary sense of safety, even worth. But the pursuit of approval is a dangerous addiction because the more you seek it, the more you abandon yourself. The more you rely on others to tell you who you are, the further you drift from the truth of your own identity. And here lies the trap. Approval is a moving target. It changes with every person, every situation, every trend. Chase it, and you become a shapeshifter, never consistent, never grounded, never whole. The nice guy often makes approval his compass. He navigates life based on what will win him praise, what will make him agreeable, what will help him avoid judgment. He molds himself to fit the expectations of others. His family, his peers, his partner, his boss. He plays small so others can feel big. He avoids risk so others won't feel threatened. He waters himself down so no one feels uncomfortable. But in doing so, he becomes a diluted version of himself. Present, but not powerful. Visible, but not vital. Approval feels like a reward, but it often functions like a leash. It keeps you within the lines others have drawn for you. It teaches you to wait for permission instead of acting on purpose. It robs you of your ability to make bold decisions, to speak unpopular truths, to live in a way that disrupts mediocrity. And yet so many men chase it because they've been conditioned to believe that being liked equals being successful. But this is a lie. Some of the most powerful, transformative, respected men in history were hated in their time, mocked, resisted, ridiculed. Why? Because they didn't seek approval. They sought truth. They lived by conviction, not consensus. You cannot lead if you are constantly looking over your shoulder. You cannot build something lasting if you're always trying to please the crowd. Approval is reactive and great men are proactive. Great men decide what matters and then act, even when others disagree, especially when others disagree, because they know that pleasing everyone is the surest way to please no one, not even themselves. There is a deep cost to the approval-seeking life. It costs you your edge. It costs your confidence. It costs you your authenticity. You become a mirror reflecting what others want to see instead of a flame that burns with your own fire. And here's the bitter irony: the more you chase approval, the less you are truly respected. People may like you, but they will not trust your backbone. They will not look to you for leadership. They will sense your hesitation. They will feel your self-betrayal, even if they can't name it. And deep down, you will feel it too. The man who breaks free from the need for approval is not arrogant. He is liberated. He no longer waits to be invited. He no longer edits himself for comfort. He says what he means and stands by it. He honors his intuition. He lives from the inside out. He becomes consistent in his values, regardless of external reaction. And in doing so, he earns something far greater than approval. He earns respect, not just from others, but from himself. That kind of man is rare because it's hard. It takes courage to disappoint people. It takes strength to hold your ground when you're misunderstood. It takes clarity to choose alignment over applause. But that is the price of self-ownership. That is the toll you must pay at the gate of greatness. So if you're still chasing approval, stop. Not tomorrow. Now, choose instead to chase excellence, chase truth, chase purpose. Because when your actions are dictated by your mission rather than other people's opinions, you won't just be liked. You'll be remembered, and more importantly, you'll be free. Greatness is not handed out to the agreeable. It is not awarded to those who play it safe, avoid friction, or tiptoe around discomfort. Greatness demands something far more costly and far more raring: the willingness to face resistance, endure discomfort, and confront the truth, not just in others, but within yourself. It is not the easy path. In fact, it is the path of most resistance, but it is also the only path that leads to real growth, to real power, to a life that means something. Nice guys avoid discomfort like it's a disease. They seek harmony over truth, safety over growth, and ease over impact. They are terrified of being disliked, so they dilute their presence. They are afraid of rejection, so they never fully show up. They want to be seen as good, so they never risk being seen as great. Because greatness will always require conflict, not the kind that seeks to harm, but the kind that dares to challenge. Greatness says what needs to be said, even when it shakes the room. Greatness does what needs to be done, even when it breaks the mold. Most people want the rewards of greatness without the pain that comes with it, but that's not how the game works. You will be criticized. You will be misunderstood. You will lose people along the way, and that's exactly why so few rise to their potential, because they're not willing to pay that price. They choose comfort and call it contentment. They choose politeness and call it peace. But deep down, they know they're lying to themselves. They know they're meant for more, but they shrink from the furnace required to forget. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It reveals where you're still soft, where you still lack clarity, where you still care too much about being accepted and too little about being excellent. Discomfort shows you your edge, and your edge is where your power begins. When you run from discomfort, you stay the same. When you lean into it, you evolve. You discover capacities inside of you that will never be found in the warm bath of approval. The world will never open its arms to someone who waits for permission. It will not roll out a red carpet for the man who plays small. If you want to build something that matters, your business, your voice, your vision, you have to accept that not everyone will clap for you. In fact, the louder you speak your truth, the more uncomfortable you will make those who are still hiding from theirs. And that's exactly how it should be. Think of the people you admire, the ones who changed the world, reshaped industries, redefined what was possible. Were they agreeable? Were they nice? Or were they fierce, clear, and willing to be hated for what they believed in? The answer is obvious. Greatness and comfort do not coexist. To be great is to be willing to be a disruptor, a creator, a challenger. It is to choose being real over being liked. This doesn't mean being reckless or cruel. It means being unapologetically aligned with your highest standards, your deepest purpose, and your clearest truth. It means knowing that discomfort is a signal, not of danger, but of growth. When something makes you uncomfortable, that is not a reason to back away. It's a reason to lean in, to examine, to act. So if you want to step into greatness, stop asking yourself what will feel good in the moment. Start asking what will forge you into the man you were meant to become. Start embracing the tough conversations. Start setting boundaries that make others uncomfortable. Start making decisions that align with your purpose, not your fear. And when the resistance comes, as it always will, know this: it is the mark that you are no longer settling. It is the mark that you are becoming. You were not designed to live in the shallow end of life. You were made for depth, for fire, for greatness. But that greatness demands something of you. It demands discomfort. It demands defiance. It demands you. Personal power is not something given. It is something claimed. And it is claimed through bold action. Not through thought alone. Not through intention, but through decision and execution. The man who waits to be certain before he moves, who waits for the conditions to be perfect, who seeks consensus before every step, he forfeits his power, little by little, until he becomes a spectator in his own life. To reclaim your personal power, you must act, not when it's safe, but especially when it's not. Nice guys hesitate. They hesitate because they are always calculating risk through the lens of social approval. They ask themselves, will this upset someone? Will they think less of me? What if I fail and look foolish? And in that hesitation, their power leaks out. Because power is built through decisiveness. Every time you delay action in order to avoid discomfort, you reinforce the idea that your comfort is more important than your potential. You teach yourself that risk is dangerous instead of necessary. But the truth is, risk is the only path to growth. If you want power, you must embrace it. Bold action does not mean reckless behavior. It means intentional movement aligned with a greater purpose. It means knowing what you stand for and being willing to take the steps that reflect that conviction. Even when there's no applause, even when there's resistance, even when it stretches you beyond the edges of who you used to be. Action is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Without it, everything is theory. Power lives in execution. The man who acts boldly is not fearless. He simply chooses not to be governed by fear. He knows that waiting for fear to vanish is a form of self-deception. Fear rarely goes away on its own. It's conquered by movement, by making the call, speaking the truth, drawing the line, starting the project, walking into the unknown. Every bold action you take rewires your brain to trust yourself. Every decision you make without needing a green light from others builds inner authority, and that is personal power. When you act boldly, something else happens. Others begin to respond differently to you. They feel your certainty. They recognize your leadership. They trust you, not because you're perfect, but because you're grounded, because you move, because you commit. And in a world full of men who hesitate, this makes you magnetic. People follow clarity. They are drawn to decisiveness. The bold man becomes a source of strength, not because he forces it, but because he embodies it. Conversely, the man who refuses to act boldly remains trapped in analysis, trapped in doubt, trapped in cycles of overthinking and underperforming. He builds a habit of hesitating, and hesitation becomes identity. He begins to tell himself, I'm not that kind of man. And that lie becomes his cage. Not because he lacks ability, but because he lacked the courage to try. He doesn't lose power overnight. It erodes slowly with every missed opportunity and silent compromise. Power requires ownership. No one is coming to hand it to you. No one is coming to fix your life, build your dream, or fight your battles. That is your job. And the moment you understand this, you stop waiting. You stop hoping. You stop begging for someone else's permission. You act. You lead. You decide. So if you want to reclaim your power, stop hiding behind thought. Stop waiting to be ready. Stop asking what others will think. Ask instead, what must I do now? And then take the step. Speak the truth. Make the move. Let bold action become your default. Let forward motion replace hesitation. Because when you act boldly, consistently, and with purpose, you stop being a nice guy and you become a force. Being real is the ultimate rebellion in a world that rewards conformity. It is the most powerful declaration a man can make. I will not hide who I am to make you comfortable. I will not dim my fire to fit your expectations. I will not betray my truth for the illusion of acceptance. To stop being the nice guy is to finally tell the truth to yourself and to the world. It is to strip off the mask you've worn for years and reveal the man underneath. No matter how inconvenient, intense, or misunderstood that man might be, the nice guy survives by pretending. He pretends to agree. He pretends to care. He pretends to be what others want him to be. And in the process, he loses all sense of who he really is. He builds relationships on a foundation of performance instead of authenticity. He earns approval at the cost of connection. Because no one can truly love a mask. They can like it, admire it, even praise it, but they cannot connect to it. Connection requires vulnerability. Vulnerability requires truth. And truth requires the courage to show up without pretense. Being real is not easy. It means risking judgment. It means risking rejection. But it also means finally being seen. Really seen, it means standing in your truth, even when it's messy, even when it's imperfect, even when it ruffles feathers. And here's the paradox. The more you reveal your truth, the more power you gain. Why? Because power comes from alignment. When your words, actions, values, and emotions are aligned, you become a force that no one can shake. People can disagree with you, but they cannot move you. There is no freedom in being liked for something you're not. There is no pride in earning praise for playing a role. There is no satisfaction in winning affection through manipulation, even the soft, subtle kind that nice guys use. The real man doesn't need to perform. He doesn't need to be perfect. He doesn't need to be agreeable. He just needs to be honest. And in his honesty, he becomes free. To stop being the nice guy is to stop filtering yourself for approval. It means saying what you actually think. It means asking for what you actually want. It means showing the world your full range, your anger, your desire, your fear, your ambition, without shame. Because those parts of you are not flaws. They are fuel. They are power. They are part of the blueprint that makes you whole. When you deny them, you weaken yourself. When you own them, you become unstoppable. Authenticity is a discipline. It requires constant self-awareness and relentless honesty. It demands that you examine your motives. Am I saying this because it's true or because I want to be liked? Am I choosing this path because it aligns with who I am or because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? These questions are the compass, and the man who lives by them walks a rare path, one of integrity, one of courage, one of unshakable self-respect. Being real doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean dumping your emotions on others or rejecting all social norms. It means being grounded. It means leading with truth and allowing others to meet you there or not. Because when you are real, you no longer beg for belonging. You become the kind of man who attracts it naturally, not because he's performing, but because he's embodied, solid, whole. So let the world see you. Let them see your passion, your standards, your edges. Stop sanding yourself down to fit in. Start standing tall in your full truth. Because the moment you choose authenticity over approval, you stop being a nice guy and you start becoming the man you were always meant to be.